This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to all entrepreneurs, from the person just starting up to the one that is already well established. My goal is to help you grow. I am your host, Isaiah O'Connor.
So today's sponsor is Audible. Audible is a place where you can go get audiobooks. Why do I suggest audiobooks and say not just Amazon.com, who actually owns Audible? It's because personally I have two small children, 3 years old and 7 years old. I'm running my balloon business. I am doing the podcast, and I've been doing a whole lot to try to bring back my business from its COVID induced coma. And in general, my life is usually pretty crazy and pretty hectic. And I no longer have time to do what I used to do and sit down and read my good books. I like doing that, I just haven't had time lately. But I do have time to listen to things. So I listen to podcasts, I listen to YouTube, and I listen to my Audible books. The over 100 Audible books I have. Now, it's a great way to learn. I've got a lot of business knowledge from there, a lot of knowledge on personal growth, on leadership, on negotiation. There are some amazing books with amazing information out there that you can get. And it's very easy to listen as you drive, as you're going to the store, if you go for a run or a walk or a bike ride. Whatever you do, it's a great way to get good information as you go, or just to relax. I do like my occasional novel. Now, how much does it cost? Well, the first month is free. If you click on my link, you can go and you can get your first month free. And now there's two different types. It used to be a few different versions of one type, but now they've simplified it, and I like the way they do it. You have Audible Plus, which is $7.95 a month. And with that, you get unlimited listening to select audiobooks, Audible originals, podcasts, and more. You don't own anything. You just get to listen. It's like a subscription podcast service almost, but you get full on books that you can listen to. Or you can go with the one that I've used over the years, which is the Audible Premium Plus, which is $14.95 a month, and that you get access to all the same titles to listen to as much as you want, unlimited selection to listen to, as well as one title per month that you get to keep forever. It's amazing. I have well over 99 books, I think 105, 110, I don't know, I've lost count books this way. And it's amazing because if, for example, you hit a little bit of a rough time, you have to close down your service for a little bit, you get to keep it. You can go back and listen to these if you have to shut off your service for a while because you don't have the money or something comes up where you need to turn it off for a while. It's great. You can still keep the books. They're still yours forever. And I love that aspect. And also, if you have the Audible Premium Plus plan, you get 30% off of all additional premium selection titles you want, plus access to exclusive sales. So, say you have a title and you want to buy another one, you get 30% off the next title you buy outside of their monthly free book. Anyway, it's amazing. Go check them out, audible.com. And if you use the link in the description, it will help us out too. Anyway, let's get on to the subject. I'm going to continue on with my subject, with my series on what's holding you back. And today we'll be talking about victimhood. Well, what do I mean by victimhood? What are we talking about with it? And it's this. Pretty much, if you're over the age of 12, just about everybody has been the victim of something at some point in their life. It could be something major, like the victim of a crime, They could have been robbed, raped, beat up, something like that could have happened to them, or to you, or it could have been something minor, such as somebody standing you up for your prom date. It doesn't really matter so much what it is because everyone has something bad happen to them outside their control at some point in their life. It's just life, for better or for worse. Now, the issue is how you deal with it and how you look at life outside of it. And I'm going to give you a few examples, but I'm not. Here's one where I'm talking about to myself too with this because as I was looking at it, I realized that I've fallen into this trap even recently on a few occasions, and it's easy to do because it's hard when circumstances are rough and things are not going your way and you don't really have a lot of a way out. It's really easy to slip into a victim mentality. And that's the biggest difference. A victim mentality is what can hold you back. It's the mentality of being a victim, not the circumstance that created the victim, that made you a victim. It's the mentality that you have afterwards that's important. And that's something you can do something about. You don't you can't do something about something bad happening to you. You can't do that. If it happens, it happens. You're just sitting there and a hurricane hits. You can't really do much about that. Or you're sitting there and you're just doing your own thing and you're crossing the sidewalk and a drunk driver hits you at 50 miles an hour. Happened to a good friend of mine. Fortunately, the worst injury he got was a chipped tooth, and I think he broke a leg or something, but he was okay. But he was really mad about the chipped tooth. It was kind of funny. But yeah, you're just walking down the road and you get hit by a car, drunk driver, 50 miles per hour. He didn't. He looked and it was clear, and he walked. The guy was just flying so fast he came from out of nowhere and hit him. He bounced back from that just fine. He was a pretty cool guy. So yeah, sometimes things do happen, and it sucks. How you deal with it after the fact is the most important thing. And a lot of people tend to remain the victim for the rest of their lives. And it's a really big way it holds you back because, first of all, it steals your confidence, it can steal your faith in yourself, and it can make you think that no matter what you do, there's no point because you have nothing's in your control anyway. You can't control anything, so why bother trying? And it can really sap your energy to do so. And I know this personally. It's one of my big struggles through my life is I was a victim of being bullied for years in school. I was your typical nerd bully target. Uh, I didn't have glasses, but I had braces. I was short. I was into science and history and all the nerdy stuff. And being the shortest, nerdiest kid with braces, I was the natural bully target. And it's really affected my relationships, the way I've seen myself at work and pushed through. And there's been times it's held me back. And even to this day, it's still a painful thing for me to even talk about because it was pretty intense. But I can't let that experience hold me back. It's held me back in some ways, and in other ways, I've used it to motivate myself to push through and be successful no matter what. That also came out of that bad experience. So, yeah, I was a victim of bullying. I didn't choose to be the shortest kid in class with braces. I definitely didn't choose that. That was outside of my control. But over the years, I've not let that be something that's held me back. Oh, there's still been other things that's held me back in pretty much with interpersonal relationships. But again, with that, I've had to choose and learn not to let that hold it back, not to think of world as everything's outside my control. When I do things, when I go to work, when I find a job, all this stuff, it's really hard to not let that, well, everything's going to go against me anyway, victim mentality, because it makes you not want to try. If you feel like you're not going to succeed, you definitely don't feel like trying. And there's been times where that's come back and bit me in the butt and haunted me and held me back for a while. Matter of fact, one of the worst times was, and this is related, when at one point in time I had quit working at one job, and the boss was pretty much a bully. And being bullied as a kid, this really, really negatively affected me. And so when I quit the job, I felt so miserable and felt like such a bad victim. It took me 3 months before I found another job. And the rest of my life, I don't think I went more than 2 weeks without a job ever up until that point. Because I went out and I would just go get a job because, I lost a job or I moved to a new city or something happened. I needed a new job. I moved quickly because I was focused and had the energy. But when I had that little victim mentality go on and I was just, oh, woe is me, life is miserable, it took me 3 months to get off my butt and find a job because I let myself be affected by that victim mentality. It wasn't my fault how he was such a mean guy, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, it can really hold you back. And another thing it can hold you back, it makes you feel like you don't deserve anything. So when you go into doing a sales pitch with your product or service, you might not try so hard to close that sale because you feel like you don't really deserve it. It can lead to something called imposter syndrome, which I'm going to dig into at a later date, but something I've been dealing with, I've realized a lot, which is imposter syndrome. That's, I think, part of a victimhood mentality. But it can really, really hold you back. Now, again, it depends on how you deal with it. And I found that when it comes to people and when things happen, everyone's different, but I find the most impactful events that really hurt are the interpersonal ones where it's relational with people you know that hurt you. Those are the hardest ones to bounce back from. But other things that happen that are outside your control, those are more easy to deal with. Like my friend I told you about who got hit by a drunk driver just crossing the crosswalk. He bounced back from that pretty quickly. There was no evil intent towards him. Or, I'm going to brag on my wife on this one here a little bit. My wife was the victim of a robbery. It was quite a few years back. We were living in Denver, and she was working at a Radio Shack, and I was at a friend's house for a birthday party. I got a phone call. Isaiah, I've been robbed. And she wasn't crying. She was very calm. But I knew by the tone of her voice that she wasn't joking and it was serious. And I said, I'll be right there. Hung up, said goodbye, grabbed my shoes, and left immediately. And I was there within about 5 minutes away. Normal traffic and lights, it takes about 15 minutes, but I kind of ran every single light that I could and got there as quickly as possible. 2 reasons. A, I was being careful. I just went through as quickly as possible, even though I knew I was breaking the law. B, I kind of figured if she had been robbed, then all the cops would not be on traffic duty at that moment and be helping her out. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of bad, but hey, my wife was just robbed. I get there. It turns out she had been robbed at gunpoint. Guy walked in, pulled out a gun, pointed at her, made her and her other employee fill up a bag of stuff, emptied out the cash register, and took off. I got there right when the police were there, and they were asking her questions, taking her statement, looking at the videos, whatnot. And it scared my wife. My wife was really scared. Of course. Who wouldn't be? She just had a gun pointed at her face. Well, what did she do? How did she react? Her initial reaction? She was trying to sell the officers' cell phones, and she completed her cell phone sell and set up to her customers who she had two customers that just happened to leave right before this guy walked in. She was setting up their cell phones because, at least back in the day, it took a few minutes to set up a new cell phone account, put in all the data, send it in, wait for approval. All the stuff took about 15-20 minutes. So the couple she had in there said, "Hey, while you set this up, we'll come right back. We're going to just go check out the other stores, and we're back." So they went, they left, they came back. They saw the police. They said, "Hey, do we, should we come back later?" Now, just to let you know, when we worked at Radio Shack at this point in time, cell phones were being pushed big time. We made the biggest commission off the cell phones, and we made what's called a SPIF, a Sales Performance Incentive Fund, which meant we got an instant something like between $5 and $50 per phone immediately on our paycheck. So that was a pretty big deal. And she finished this sale, made the customers happy, and sent them on their merry way after being robbed at gunpoint because the guy managed to not touch their phones, their brand new phones that was laying out on the counter. He didn't grab those. So she was able to finish the sale, complete the sale after being robbed at gunpoint, much to my everlasting pride of my wife. But she was able to get robbed at gunpoint, stay calm, stay cool, do everything right, not get shot, call the police, take care of everything just fine, and then complete the sale and was able to chat with the police and be very friendly and handle it. Later on, when we got home, she was a little bit more shaking because, it kind of hit her. But she was okay. She went back to work and no problem. She never really had any other bad nights or anything. After a couple of days, she was just fine, went back to work, no problem. She didn't become a victim. She didn't have a victimhood mentality. The guy she worked with, however, acted all tough and brave and a couple of days later quit and never came back. He couldn't handle it. He says it had nothing to do with the robbery, but we're pretty sure it did. He quit and it shook him and he left. And right there, that shows the two different reactions. Something bad happened to two people at the exact same time. The same thing. Neither of which were injured, but the one was completely scared and quit. Another one kept going and pushing through and didn't let it affect her. And it, being my wife, of course, I'm proud of her. Now, that's the thing. When something bad happens to you, you can lose a loved one, you can lose property. I have several friends that lost their houses in a forest fire. Bad things happen. And the trick is not to dwell on it. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, it sucks. I'm not saying that whatever happens to you isn't bad. Bad things happen. That's why they're called bad things. They're not good. That's why you become a victim. But even if you're a victim, even if something bad does happen to you, what you need to do is to stop, evaluate where you are, look at the positive sides. Are you still alive? Yes. Are you still able to fight back and come back from this? Yes. Are you still breathing? Always a good start. If you wake up in the morning breathing, that's always a good start. You can work with that. If you have that mentality and you push through and realize that no matter what bad things happen, I can push through, then victimhood will not be able to hold you back. And a matter of fact, I just Googled millionaire Holocaust survivors, and there's several of them. People who survived the Holocaust. There's multimillionaires that came to the U.S. with nothing. They lost everything. They lost their families. They lost their freedom for quite some time. They lost everything they owned, and they only had the clothes on their back. And they retired multi-millionaires, including one who was a billionaire. Holocaust survivor. Started with nothing, a victim of one of the worst crimes in the history of our planet, and yet they didn't let it hold them back. And these are amazing people who didn't let their victimhood status hold them back. So, yeah, being a victim is something that happens to you. It happens. Don't let it hold you back. And even now, other places I've seen in my life where I go, hey, maybe I have acted a bit like a victim in this situation or in that situation, even recently. And that's held me back from making it through and pushing it through in some places because it's subtle. It can be very subtle. You don't even realize it until you start examining it. You go, okay, well, if I look at it this way, then perhaps well, maybe I shouldn't even try this or that or the other thing. And I've noticed that, and it's holds you back, and it's really hard to push through. And I kind of had that feeling a bit during the Corona crisis, the peak of it. Yeah, my business was a victim of the Corona crisis. My income has been absolute squat because of Corona. Now I can go and look back, and there's been times that I haven't tried to find ways to keep going during Corona. I've given up trying in some ways, shapes, or forms. And it's been rough. There's been times I've just kind of given up and let that victimhood status hit me. But now I'm coming to come out of it. Now I'm looking at it and going, hey, I can do this. Matter of fact, for a couple days this week, I went out and went store to store to store, pitching my new balloon package to stores to try to get things going. Because I'm refusing to be a victim anymore. I am going to bounce back and find a way to bounce back and do this. Because I am no longer a victim. In my head, I've decided not to be. And now I'm actually doing stuff to make progress, to go out there and change the situation instead of being controlled by the situation. Anyway, to wrap up, when bad things happen, it's not always easy. It's sometimes very, very rough, but you have to make the choice and act on the choice not to be the victim. Even if you feel like you're still the victim, the trick is do the choice. Make the choice and do it. And as you make the right choice, as you start working on not being a victim, as long as you start pushing through and behaving as if you're not the victim, even if you still feel like it, your feelings will start to match your choices and your behavior. It happens a lot. And it's very important. If you are upset with your wife or your husband, or spouse, whatever, significant other, if you choose to act more loving with them, you'll start feeling more loving for them. It's amazing how that works. So, just to encourage you guys today, if you feel like you've been a victim or if you're struggling with self-doubt or feeling like you're not worth it or why should anyone buy from me? It's not that good, and being surprised and shocked when people do. Well, maybe you're suffering a little bit from a victimhood mentality. that you're not even aware of. I've had it happen to me, and I've not been really aware of that's what was going on. So reevaluate, check it out, and go, hey, I'm not going to be a victim any longer. Fight back, come out swinging, and do not remain defeated, and start moving forward, because when you break this free, you can move forward very quickly and very powerfully. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Remember to get your free half-hour consultation by using our contact page and the links below. If you found value in this content, please give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. It is very helpful if you share this with your friends. If you'd like to directly support this podcast, I have a few donation links in the description, or you can check out the show sponsors. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast, which is an Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For our companion podcast, the Atheoz Business Podcast, which is hosted by Jason St. Clair. Our past episodes and related blogs, you can check out our website at www.atheoz.com, which is www.atheoz.com or atheoz.com. Remember, you can also check us out on the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group, where you can interact with me and other people who are bootstrappers and entrepreneurs. The link is in the description. Come check us out. I would love to interact with you. And until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor. See you later.